Okay, here we are. First thing we're going to do for replacing the idler control arm that's attached to the center link and the frame rail is we want to make sure we get this castle nut out of here, and then we're going to detach it from its flange. So normally you will have 3 bolts to remove in your application for removing the idler arm. Okay, after a few brutal strikes at this knuckle down here, holding it like this, hitting it with the hammer against this end, it was able to detach from the ball joint. Now it's going to be the best time for replacing a castle nut and checking this ball joint for movement. And most likely there will be some movement in it, and it will call for replacement of the complete center link, which also has another ball joint that's attached to the pitman arm for the steering gearbox. It's now time for us to replace this part so we can see how free this is, and you can also see there's movement in it. So this is the new pitman arm, idler arm, and it's the same one as this one. Remember, it is for a right-hand drive vehicle, and we're only able to use 2 bolts, but it works perfectly. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure we make the attachment with the ball joint in with the idler arm, securing it with the castle nut. Now focus can be gained on positioning the bracket onto the bolts. So it's going to require holding the bolts at the rear and using an alignment punch. Or even a bolt of a small diameter will work for aligning the bracket to the frame. So this here has bring us to the end of the installation. And remember to torque all nuts and bolts that are removed from the suspension according to factory spec, and also replacement of the cotter pin for the castle nut. Now, one thing you need to know when you tighten this is that what I like to do is, once it's snug like that, I give it another half a turn, and within that half a turn I look for an alignment position in the castle nut versus the stud. This part, make sure you use a torque wrench for torquing the bolts according to the specification on the screen. So now we want to repeat the same movement as before in the previous video, and we can see we're getting a small placement on the ball joint for the center link, which is also known as the drag link, but there's no movement in the idler arm itself. So we have eliminated approximately 3/4 of the play or damage, worn and torn, between this linkage that will cause the vehicle to become on a line at the wheel. In the next video, we're going to show you how to replace the center link. In the video description, you will see a video there, and that's in a complete rebuild. So this has restored alignment of the vehicle by replacing the idler arm.